Hello and welcome to Wise Attraction. It's so good to have another live show to join you once again this evening as we continue our study on 5 marriages of the Bible. It's been such a beautiful study, starting from Adam and Eve to Abraham and Sarah, and then going on to Isaac and Rebecca. And today we're looking at Jacob and Rachel. We're looking at their love story, right from the time before they got married and when they got married, what were their experiences like? What can we learn from them today? If you're joining us, please say hello in the comment section, and also feel free to make this comment if you have like whatever it is if you have thoughts about what I'm sharing. Feel free to use the comment section to put it in there, as I'd really like it to be an interactive show today. Don't mind my voice. I've had a cold, but thankfully it's phasing out. And before I really get into it, I want to know, how are you doing? So if you're watching now, please let me know in the comment section how you're doing, how your week is going. So let's get right into it. So Jacob has a very interesting story, because he went into accidental polygamy. Basically, he loved Rachel, and Rachel was his choice of a wife, and his father had told him, go to my hometown, my father's land, choose a wife for yourself from your mother's people, and he did that when he went to Padanaram, which was Isaac's hometown. He saw Rachel, he loved her, he wanted to get married to her, but then Rachel's father ended up tricking him, and instead of him, he said, work for me for 7 years and I'll give you my daughter Rachel, because he knew that Jacob loved Rachel. Jacob worked for this guy, Laban, for 7 years, and he ended up tricking him, giving him Leah instead of Rachel. So that's how Jacob ended up being a polygamist, because when he discovered the next day, he confronted Laban, and Laban was like, okay, work for me another 7 years for Rachel. And then he gave Rachel. So initially, when I found out about this story, when I was much younger, I always thought that he had to work an extra 7 years before getting Rachel. No. When he found out the trick, Laban, his father-in-law, was like, okay, let's wait till after the marriage week has ended, which is one week. Then I'll give Rachel to you, and you work for me another 7 years to get her. To pay for having her, I guess. So that is how Jacob ended up being a polygamist. So let's look at his relationship with Rachel, so to say. So before I want to talk a bit about honoring your family when choosing who to marry, because that struck me in Jacob and Rachel's situation. Leah was like the accidental wife, sadly. But with Jacob and Rachel, when he met Rachel, he didn't speak directly to her to say, oh, I want to marry. But now I know that this has to do with the culture of their time. I'm sure this is the way they did things there. You won't just go directly to the lady and start a relationship with her, get to know her, see how things are, test the waters and all of that before you then go and speak to her parents and say, oh, okay, I've tested her, I've seen everything, and I know that she's okay for me now, and so I want to marry her. So the way they do things there is to speak to the father first. But I feel like even now we can also take a leaf from Jacob's book in terms of, if you're planning to get married, speaking to the father of whoever it is. Like, of course, the culture now is very, very different. You don't have to go to the parents first, because even that lady you're trying to get married as a guy, lady might be like, so you don't think I know what is good for me or who is good for me, so you can't come directly to me. The lady might even look down on you, because that's not our culture. Modern day time, that's not our culture right now. But there's still that place of honor where you can, as well, in as much as you know the lady, you get to know the lady respectfully and in a biblical way, is still honorable to also seek to marry, seek permission from the lady's father, just have a conversation. I feel like that kind of saying, going to ask permission to say, oh, I'd like to ask your daughter's hand in marriage, or even just getting that consent and that agreement from the, so now this is for the guys, from the lady's father, is also really helpful. It's really good. It shows honor for the woman. It shows honor for her background, her history, and it also buys like your in-laws to your side, and it makes certain things easier, because it means that you're also building a relationship with your wife's to be's father before you get to that point. Because I wanted to say, as we all know, but if you're watching and you don't know, relationship with in-laws is so important. It starts before you get married. As an African, there are so many criteria. People are like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do all of these things before you get married to my daughter. But in a place where there is relationship between the man that is getting married to someone's child, if the relationship between the two men, the father of the bride to be and the husband to be, if there's a relationship there, you find that they might just bypass some things, just because that trust has been built. I believe that it's important for fathers want to trust. I'm not a father, but I'm a daughter. I have a father, and I know that before I got married, my father wanted to make sure that the person he was giving his daughter to in marriage is someone that he could trust, someone that he could entrust her to, because he's not going to be coming every day and checking what's going on. Is she okay? Is this happening? And things like that. But that honor that is shown before the marriage is something that can help, building that relationship, building that bond. Telling the man to say, oh, I plan to propose to your child. What do you say? Instead of it being a shocker, it just comes all of a sudden and it comes from the woman. So I believe that there's still that place of honor for parents when getting married, just like Jacob did. Another thing that struck me about their story is, I've already mentioned about Laban's deception. So Laban was Rachel's father. And although Jacob honored him, when Jacob went there, Jacob had a choice. He could have defiled Laban's daughters. Forget culture and everything. It's people that have the fear of God, or decide that they're going to go by the rules. They're the ones that obey and go by culture's norms and things. He could have defiled Laban's daughters. He could have slept with them. He could have done all manner of things there, but he honored Laban. He honored the situation. Laban said, work for me for 7 years. He was living there with them. He stayed, he worked for 7 years, and he worked for the remaining 7 years, honoring Laban, honoring the situation, But we find here we see a scenario where Isaac is living with his wives and he's living with his in-laws. I believe there is something to learn from this experience about relating with in-laws. In this case, Jacob had been deceived. Laban had told him that he's going to marry one daughter, ended up giving him the other daughter. In fact, Laban just gave him his two daughters. He was meant to marry one that he loved. Laban ended up giving him two women to marry that he didn't plan to get married to. And then Laban kept cheating him. Now, bearing in mind that this is his in-laws, and even in modern day time, in today, we also have to navigate that relationship with in-laws. Now, what did Jacob do when he disagreed with his in-laws? What did he do when he had the issues that he had? I believe that Jacob was not someone that went and fought and argued, and he was like, oh, you're doing this to me, you're wrong. And there could have been a lot of battles in that place, in that home where they were living. I believe that maybe even if they didn't live in the same house, they lived around each other. And today, when people get married, there's this exposure to in-laws. Even in premarital class, it's very important. If you've not gotten married, you're listening to, it's very important to plan to do proper premarital classes, counseling, and should I say education before you get married. Dealing with the in-laws is one of the things they're also going to talk about, is and it's something that is really important, because you're married to one person, but that person comes with other people, and you need to manage that relationship. And Jacob found himself in a situation where he was not only living, should I say, close to the in-laws, he was working for his father-in-law, and his father-in-law was cheating him. This could play out in various ways in modern day time. It could be that for a season you have to live in your in-laws house, and certain things are happening that you feel like, oh, I'm being oppressed here, or I'm not happy, or I don't like what I'm seeing, I'm being treated badly, my husband or my wife is siding with her parents or her siblings, or is siding with his parents and his siblings, and it seems like I'm alone in this place. It seems like they are ganging up against me. It could even be that, okay, maybe you guys are not living together, but then you have situations where you feel like things are turning against you. You feel like your husband is not on your side, or your wife is not on your side, and you feel like you're having issues with the in-laws. So how did Jacob deal with this issue with his father-in-law? In Jacob's situation, he sought peace. He humbled himself. What we are saying, because the Bible doesn't record any time of him having a quarrel with Laban, except when he left and he got really upset and he confronted Laban. But we don't see him confronting Laban. We don't see him cheating Laban. We don't see him saying, okay, Laban, these are the things you did to me, I will do you back. We don't even see him, Leah was a wife that was imposed on him. He didn't treat Leah exceptionally well, to be honest, but he did particularly, the Bible doesn't tell us that he treated her with contempt. The Bible doesn't tell us that he treated her bad, even the things, so this says that even the things that his in-laws had imposed on him, he didn't take it out on his wife. So this is something that we can learn from. How are you responding when you have conflict with your in-laws? How are you dealing with it? Are you in a situation? Now I'm talking about Jacob's life, and I'm giving us things to consider, because the Bible is there for us to learn. I'm also learning. So I'm not prescribing this to say this is what you should do. I'm telling you what Jacob did, and I'm applying it to modern day life. It's left for you to process this information, think about your experience, and think if it's applicable to you, or how you can apply the Bible to your life. So in this situation, are you someone that is you're fighting back, you're planning how to do your in-laws back? Now, this in-law situation is a very, very tricky one. I'm not even going to say I figured it out or anything. It's something that we're learning and we're growing in continuously, But with Jacob, what I'm seeing here is just that humility, that, should I say, he allowed himself to be cheated, because I believe the reason why he did that is because he trusted God. He had a trust and a faith in God to fight for him. Now, one thing I've seen in the Bible time and time again is that God fights for his own. If you're fighting for yourself, so if you're devising solutions to your situation, you're coming up with strategies and things like that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm just saying that there's a way you do those things, that you don't leave room for God to speak for you. Now, Jacob's strategy here is that he let God speak for him completely. He was faithful to Laban. He was consistent in his character. He treated the people, the wives, because some people, when in-law treat them bad, you take it out on your spouse. So for instance, if you're like me now, if my husband's siblings or family treats me bad, I take it out on my husband, things like that. So he didn't take it out on these man's daughters that they had given him, that Laban had given. He didn't take it out on them. Instead, he still honored them. He still worked with them as his wives, and he protected his family, he fought for his family, and he served diligently. Now, it's hard because sometimes the experience you're going through with your in-laws, it might just be so excruciating, and so horrible and so annoying that you want to burst, or you're like, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't handle it, But if we're taking a leaf from Jacob's book, we'll see that if we choose not to respond and choose to trust God, God can fight our battles. In Jacob's case, what did God do? God blessed Jacob. Even Laban told Jacob that I have seen that since you started working for me, God has blessed me. God, I've seen that I've become wealthy because you are here. Laban acknowledged that. And even after Jacob decided to leave, because Jacob had no obligation to stay with Laban anymore. He had served him completely and even extra. When Jacob saw that he didn't have favor with Laban anymore, God spoke to Jacob and said, leave here and go back to your father's house. And even when when Jacob was leaving and Laban chased after him, God protected Jacob. God visited Laban in the dream just before he met up with Jacob and told him not to do anything. God spoke for him where he didn't have the opportunity to speak for himself. So if you're listening to this, you're having issues with your in-laws, you feel like you're being cheated, you feel like you're being maltreated, you feel like you're being treated poorly, this is an option for you. Of course, look at your situation. You don't want to be in harm's way. You don't want to be like you want to ensure that you're taking care of your mental and emotional well-being, even in that difficult situation. But you can also choose to, whilst taking care of yourself and protecting your mind, your heart, your emotions, and your marriage, you can still choose to walk in humility, choose to continue to maintain things, trusting God to speak for you. I believe that it's time for us to see the signs and the greatness of God in our lives. We need to create room for him to act. If we keep acting for ourselves every time, pursuing this, doing this, changing this and all of that to influence our situation, sometimes when we're not allowing that space for him to reveal himself. And one thing that really struck me about, so now of course I'm talking about Christian marriage, one thing that really struck me about all of these marriages and relationships, when Laban spoke to Jacob, what did he say? He said, the Lord your God. He told him the Lord your God because of the way when Jacob lived with Laban, who was an idol worshiping man, could see an evidence of God being at work in Jacob's life. Now, how can your in-laws, how can the people in that situation with you see that evidence of God at work in your life? So that's what came to my mind, and I just thought to put that out there. Another thing that really struck me about their relationship is the seasons of marriage. In fact, I've been reading this, they talk about the initial stages of marriage, how it's the honeymoon phase, how things are so going well, so romantic, you're so happy, the first few years of marriage or the first few years of meeting. But then as time goes on, familiarity sets in, reality sets in, you begin to see the flaws, the shortcomings of your partner, that affects the marriage, tends to go through different seasons. And what really struck me with their relationship when it comes to the seasons in marriage is that, to me, I saw Rachel as a symbol, as symbolic of a particular season in marriage, and I saw Leah as a symbol of another season in marriage. I believe that even if this is a love triangle, I believe the lessons from their marriage can be applied to every marriage today. I believe there are powerful lessons here. So I'm just going to go right into what really struck me in terms of the seasons of marriage when I studied them. So, like I said, I believe that Rachel symbolizes that romantic honeymoon phase, that lasts for a while. If you look at the life of Rachel, we see that Leah lived longer than her. She died at some point. She had her first child, Jacob. After her second child, we don't know the exact amount of years, but I know that yeah, I can't give figures because the Bible doesn't even specify, but we see that after she had her second child, she actually died straight after having Benjamin, who was her second child. So but Jacob was infatuated with Rachel's beauty. He loved her so much, and like I said, she symbolizes that honeymoon, that romantic phase, that infatuation, that love that looks at just the physical. Now this love is good, but it's so interesting that the Bible doesn't talk about anything. Rachel is not exactly portrayed in a positive light. She was envious, she was quarrelsome, she didn't regard God, she stole idols. So she didn't particularly, she's not someone that we see that particularly served God, who was the same God with Jacob, But the only thing that really stands out about her that captured Jacob, as we see in the Bible, is her beauty, and that early phases, when you see someone, you're attracted to them, you're like, yes, I want to be with this person. Oh, see the way they look, see the way they dress, see the way they do this, they do that, and we tend to ignore the deeper aspects of their character. Either we ignore them, we don't notice them, or it doesn't bother us because you're like, I love this person, they look good, this is the person I want to be with, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and all of that. So a lot of the time we go into marriage with that mindset of that romantic love, that infatuation, being happy, excited, attracted to the person, which is good. There's nothing wrong with it, but that usually is a phase, because according to research and according to the stories that we've been hearing, is that honeymoon phase, it moves on. It's not, nobody, I've never seen, please, if you're watching and you know anybody that has been married and they're at that phase, that early phase of marriage, they're still exactly at that phase 10 years later, no, they are not noticing their shortcomings, they're not noticing issues about each other, they're not quarreling, everything is still honeymoon, honeymoon, honeymoon. Please let me know. Feel free to comment, add it to the comment section. Of course, I know that people that work on their marriage, people that deal with their issues, resolve conflict and stuff, they can it changes, your love evolves. I can't even say that. I believe from my understanding, but if you feel differently, feel free to state it in the comment section. Love tends to evolve within marriage, and I believe that Rachel herself is a symbol of that first phase of attractive romantic love that cannot really sustain a marriage in the long haul. Jacob didn't notice all of that, or maybe he noticed and it didn't bother him. He felt a strong affection towards her until when she died after having a second child. So there's that love phase that most couples go through, and when you can't see the flaws of your family, of your partner, sorry, and to you that partner is perfect, like Jacob, you do anything to get them, you be loving, you be kind, you be helpful. There's some people like those early days, opening the door for them to get in, buying roses, buying flowers on the regular, going out regularly, creating time consciously, actively, regularly to spend time together, doing things together, So that happens, that it comes easily, those early years of marriage, which is what I believe that this Rachel herself symbolizes. But Jacob's experience with Leah, I see it as depicting the phases that follow the other seasons that come in a marriage after that initial romantic, happy, joyful, should I say, infatuation phase of marriage. As it starts to wear out, I see Leah's experience. And Leah, what she did is that in the way she named her children, the thing that she said in naming her children, you see the seasons and the phases that she was going through. And I believe that applies to marriage and it applies to love. She had her first child and she said, the Lord has noticed my misery and now my husband will love me. So she was in misery in that marriage. I believe that after that romantic phase, that misery is when, like, misery tends to come when people begin to see the reality. I mean, when you've lived with somebody for some time, you will see you will see aspects of them that you didn't bargain that you didn't bargain for, that you never expected. You see all these various phases and various sides of them. Familiarization too will set in. You begin to see their flaws, you begin to see that they're different to you, you begin to nitpick, you begin to criticize each other. So you go into that phase, and this kind of thing can cause misery. It's at this point in marriage that some people start feeling that, did I marry the wrong person? Did I make a mistake? This is like when the passion is gone, because there are so many issues and there's so many challenges to do with your personalities that you have to work out. So if you're watching this and you're not married, I don't want you to go into marriage thinking that that you will constantly be in that in-law phase. No, you will evolve from that in-law phase. But when you evolve from that in-law phase, I don't want you to go thinking that there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with your marriage, or it's only your marriage. No, it's something that happens, and it's part of the process of bonding and of uniting, which we're going to see in how Leah described her experiences. So her second child was Simeon. She named him Simeon, for she said, the Lord heard that I was unloved and he has given me a son. So Leah also felt unloved, in this time. And when we move past that, should I say infatuated, when the reality of what you entered into within marriage, when it hits you hard, when we move away from that phase and get into the realistic phase, sometimes you might feel unloved, because you might just think that, my partner doesn't love me, my partner doesn't care about me, just because of the experiences that you're having. And which is what Leah is also saying here. And then she had her next child and she called him Levi. She said, my husband will feel affection, he'll feel attached to me as I have given him 3 sons. As you continue to go in your marriage, children definitely bring attachment, they bring a bond. So even within these various phases in marriage, what will help you is learning conflict resolution, is learning how to communicate, how to express yourself, how to be transparent, how to be fully open. Because as you communicate, as you're fully open, as you work towards dealing with the issues that you're facing, rather than condemning your partner or despising your marriage and despising your union, as you both yield to God. I've talked about it in the previous show that the third partner in marriage, there are 3 partners, and the other partner is God. As you honor God in the marriage, and as you continue to honor your partner, you see that both of you will keep evolving, and you'll be able to go through the difficult phase, the challenging chunk of things, so to say. And right here, what Leah is saying, that her husband will feel attached to her because of the children that they have together. And sometimes, even in marriage, there will come a season where you feel like the only thing joining 2 of you together is just these children. You will hear some people say, I shouldn't laugh about it, it's not funny. Say, if not for these children, I'll just leave you and escape, from this place. Children, they cause a bond, within a marriage. And that the bond of having children also helps to sustain that union, even when things are challenging. It's so interesting that after Levi, she had a mindset change, and when we're going through these various seasons of marriage, where we go through, should I say, misery or feel unloved because of the challenges, because you're facing the reality, 2 of you are going through various types of conflicts and things like that, having to maneuver things and work things out. When your mindset changes, it can really transform the situation. Because Leah's next son was Judah, and Judah means praise. Leah's situation did not change. It's not as if Jacob started treating her differently or he began to love her more. Well, the Bible doesn't tell us that. But her mindset, she began to praise. How you can apply this is that if you're in the phase of marriage where you're going through that challenging time where it's like you're seeing the reality, the real picture, the real picture of who you married, because that revelation will become very clear to you after you guys have stayed for some time together. As you begin to see them, should I say, for who they truly are, so to say. If we change our mindsets, you see them because your spouse is different from you. Both of you cannot be the same. Someone said that if both of you are the same, then the other person is unnecessary. The beauty of marriage, part of it is that difference, but it's so interesting that difference is something we need to work out. So if you flip your mindset, and instead of complaining about that difference, you begin to praise that difference. And Leah didn't stop there. From Judah, she had Gad, who she said, fortunate. How fortunate I am. She began to see herself as fortunate. All of this is also in her mind. It's a mindset. It's not like physically the situation has changed, but in her mind, she began to count her blessings. She began to see the good in her life. What I'm encouraging you is that if you're going through those tough seasons, to begin to see the positives, begin to see the good in your life, begin to see the blessing that your spouse is, begin to see the blessings that God has given you and your partner within that marriage, begin to see the positives of the differences between both of you, and count your blessings. Begin to see the fortune that you have within your marriage. And she goes on, she says that she named her next child Asher. What joy is mine. Please bear in mind that all these children are not from her. Some of these children are from her handmaid, so her servants, but they're like her children. She had another child, Asha, and she said, what joy is mine now that the other woman will celebrate with me. So she even experienced joy, in that same situation. And her next child was Issachar. There is reward for waiting through for is Issachar, and what she said is that there is reward. So she got a reward from staying in that situation, from waiting out the difficult seasons in her marriage. If she didn't believe that she had a reward, she wouldn't be naming her child and saying that there is a reward. I believe that waiting through, being patient through the challenging seasons in your marriage, through the challenging phase, through the difficulties, the conflicts, and all of that, working through towards resolution and being patient, waiting out the difficult seasons will bring a reward. Her next child was Zebulon, and she said, God has given me a good reward. So the first time she said reward, second time she said good reward. Now my husband will treat me with respect, for I have given him 6 sons. As you wait out that season, as you continue to remain consistent through the difficult and challenging seasons of your marriage, you will get to the point where you overcome, and you will see the reward, the good reward from your marriage. And even in that difficult season, what you do with your partner is, I believe that as you work things out, you build synergy, you build a bond and a unity, within the marriage, and you build such history and respect, someone that you've been through thick and thin with, someone that you've gone through really difficult stuff with and had to work it out, that history bonds both of you together. That history builds respect. That history builds trust. It builds a bond between both of you. So I want to encourage you. Are you going through a phase where like things are really challenging in your marriage and you're just wondering like, oh my goodness, who did I marry? I miss those early days. I miss the Rachel of our marriage, like the romantic times and all of that. I want to encourage you to wait out this season. But how would you wait out this season? What was it about Leah that really made her stand out? Leah was a woman of faith. Leah was someone that worked on herself. She improved, because if you look at how she named her children and how she talked about her experience, you see that mentally, you see that her faith in God, emotionally, she was growing, she was evolving, to the point where, what was really interesting, that after Joseph is not Leah's child, when Joseph had the dream about the sheets bowing down to him, and they understood that it was his siblings and his parents bowing down to him. When he went and told his father, at this point, his mother, his biological mother, Rachel, was dead, And when he told his father asked him, he said, "Will your mother and I bow to you?" So who was Jacob referring to as Joseph's mother? He was referring to Leah. He said, "Will your mother and I bow to you?" So Leah was like a mother to the children that she didn't birth, to Rachel. Should I say Rachel was like her rival, But I believe that at some point they mended things between themselves, because of, I'm saying this because of how they responded to Jacob when Jacob was leaving his father. But I'm not going to go into all of that because it's not really relevant now. But it was such that Leah was now the woman that stood by Jacob, at the end of the day. She waited through the seasons and all of that, and she had a reward because she had her husband to herself in the end. And even after she died, in Genesis chapter 49 verse 31, it tells us that there, where she was buried, Abraham and his wife Sarah are buried. There, Isaac and his wife Rebecca are buried, and there I buried Leah. So Leah was buried where Abraham and Isaac and all this were buried, and that's where Jacob was also buried. At the end, she was with her husband even till death. When you wait through these difficult seasons, when you persist, it's hard. There's no doubt that it's challenging. I can't undermine the difficulties of this type of a phase. But when you wait it out, when you stay persistent and you stay consistent, your marriage will stand the test of time. You build a solid foundation that will take you through difficult seasons and help you to the very end. So that's it for today's show. But guys, before I go, I'm going to show you all something. If you're watching, please don't go off right now, because Wise Attraction, I hope you learned something from today's show. Guys, I really hope you found something beneficial, and I hope I'm also learning myself. All of these things I'm saying, I'm also learning things I want to I want to practice within my marriage. So I want to show you guys something. At Wise Attraction, we now have some fashion accessories for sale. I'm just gonna play a quick promo video. Yeah, so this is our summer collection, and it's available on wiseattraction.co.uk. So if you're joining the show, please don't hesitate to go to our website. Yes, we have a website. It's also a blog as well. There are some blog articles there, and it's I'll be regularly updating the blogs. If you're not able to catch up with the show, you can catch up on the blog as well. wiseattraction.co.uk/shop. Just head over there and get a bag for yourself for summer. And it doesn't even have to be for yourself. You can get it as a gift. Maybe if you have someone's birthday coming up, or if someone is celebrating anything wonderful, maybe as a congratulations, or even if you just want to send someone a gift because we are getting out of lockdown, we're gonna experience more of the outside world now going forward. Please head over to Wise Attraction and get a bag for yourself or for a friend or for your mom. You can buy it for your mom just because, or you can buy it for a mentor as well, just because. So please head over and get one of these gorgeous bags. They're actually on sale now. They're all 10% off and they're affordable prices. They're all made of beautiful African print. You can style them with any outfit and they look just gorgeous. So please head over and get a bag for yourself. That's it for today's show. If you haven't subscribed to the Wise Attraction channel, please do so now and also hit the notification button so you know whenever we have new videos for you. Thanks for watching today and I look forward to seeing you next week Thursday. Bye.